to Agit Television Newspaper Headlines Review. I'm Fanin Kwan, and I have.
My name is Shido Taka. Good morning and welcome.
I will be joined today again by a seasoned journalist, and he's TV Akase. Thank you for joining us again.
It's my pleasure to be here again.
All right, so many things to speak about this morning, but we're starting off with the Punch newspaper, and it comes with this banner headlines that is almost across all the papers this morning, and this is the 50% tariff hike. Nigerians may spend 6.74 trillion naira on cores. With the rider, telecoms groups insist hike should have been lower, threaten suit ahead of February implementation date. All right, and we also have Sanwo-Olu pledges to work with new Lagos speaker. 6 killed, 3 injured in Ogun multiple crashes. Court adjourns Dangote Refinery's 100 billion naira suit against marketers. And then, of course, we have this story here on the United States president. Trump returns as 47th U.S. president, rejects transgender illegal migration. So these are some of the stories we have in the Punch newspaper. Well, of course, we're starting off with a big story, 50% tariff hike. Nigerians may spend 6.74 trillion naira on cores. And just to bring perspective to this, a few weeks ago, there were reports, or a few days rather, there were reports of how telecom companies were running out of business because of credit owed commercial banks. They couldn't meet up with their credits, and at some point, commercial banks threatened to cut off USSD services, that's short code services. And here the telecoms are being approved to hike tariff percentage by the Nigerian Telecommunications Commission. So it worries Nigerians. And then we keep getting the reports that the economy is improving. The World Bank recently released its report that projecting an economic growth for Nigerians. But these are some of the things that make Nigerians feel the impact of economic growth. So where do we go from here, as it is always asked, Chief Akase?
Well, that's a good question. It's as bad as it is getting, and quite worrisome. I just hope and pray that somehow, somewhat, some way, Nigeria will be able to come out of this and as quickly as possible. How much are Nigerians paying? Can anyone tell us? Because the telcos, the telecom companies decide how they bill Nigerians. I don't know the extent of regulation, the extent of monitoring that the Nigerian Communications Commission does, and the speed with which the NCC approved the 50% hike. The telecom industries, the companies were asking for 100%, and now the NCC has speedily approved 50% without taking cognizance of the pains that this we have. We're by this, we're going back to the early days of global communications. I mean, GSM advent in Nigeria, when a line was going for as high as more than 50,000 naira, and in those days people will quickly end a call. In fact, when you called somebody at that time, you will cut off all the pleasantries and go straight to the message and drop the message and try to beat, because if you entered 1 second, in the next minute the telecoms company is going to bill you for the whole minute with just 1 second. I think this is where we're going back to. And you can, if the telecom companies begin to implement that approval today, being the 21st of January, because they won't waste time. So I hope that the federal government will look into this and see how, if it's possible, I will recommend subsidy for Nigerians.
Yes.
On because communication is very important.
Very important.
The entire the universe was created by a word.
Communication, yes.
By communication. God communicated and the world came into being. So communication is very important. And if Nigerians are going to face this hardship, then I don't know. I don't know.
Okay, somebody once asked me that can I remember what it was like when there were no phones, when we could not communicate via the phone? And I was like, I can't even remember. Nobody can remember us anymore. And of course, when the NCC says this is here now, and they say they actually interfaced, discussed with critical stakeholders. Who is the critical stakeholder? If people like you and me who use these phones didn't even know about this thing until now, yes, when we have to hear that we'll be paying very soon 16.5 naira.
Okay, the issue for me now. Okay, actually a breakdown of it is I think we're moving from the current 12 naira something per minute to 16 naira.
Yes.
That's why I said do you even know how much you are billed? you can't estimate it, because sometimes these companies will send messages to you. These are auto-generated messages. And they bill you for accepting messages you didn't solicit for. So it's quite confusing. And that's why I questioned the regulatory functions of the Nigerian Communications Commission. Where were the stakeholders meetings held? Where? We have stakeholders. Yes, we have stakeholders in the communications industry. Yeah. Who met and said, look, if you increase the tariffs to 50%, this will be the impact on the economy. Who sat and agreed? And now you speedily approved 50%. Why didn't they say increase it by just 15%? That could have been a good starting point. 15%. And if the pains were already much, then the federal government could have subsidized. Give these people inject something into the sector, yes, if possible. Give them some buffers. Let them be able to pick their bills, if possible. They will repay you. That's what happens in other countries. The American government, if a particular sector is facing challenges and that sector is as critical to the economy of the United States, like what we have here in Nigeria, the telecoms industry, then the federal government of the United States will inject some funds. Obama did this many times. Will inject some funds into that sector to make it stand and serve the American people. That's how it is done. But here, I'm not referring to the Tinubu government in particular. Governments of Nigeria, successive governments of Nigeria will quickly, neglect what should have been their responsibility and leave Nigerians to their fate to face the dire consequences of whatever punitive measures are being taken by players in the industries. It's quite unfortunate.
Before we go to the next matter, I'd like to add that two issues for me. Number one, the Consumer Protection Commission should also sit up to ensure that Nigerians are being adequately compensated for network failures and unsolicited messages, extra billings and a whole lot of that. Two, I think the argument put forth by the telecoms is that there is an increase in interest rate and a whole lot of that. And then the government said, no, the state of the economy, it was going to crumble. So all we need is to deed the kind of things that we did, that the economy is where it is right now. However, I am praying that this thing should be worked upon so that the interest rate should come. Actually, if you go to the bank to borrow now, the interest rate is quite very high.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's unfavorable for operating business. So the telecoms, we are saying we are threatened. We may not continue if this continues. So I think the government should speed up whatever it is doing for the interest rate to calm down.
Now, Fane, you are right. And this is where I expect the National Assembly, our senators and House of Reps, to step in, because they make laws. Now, if you go to, I made some calls in the United States. Now, when you get to the United States, you buy a line, and when you buy a line in any of the telecoms, in any of the companies, they give you you subscribe for 1 month. And within that 1 month, if you call within the United States, the call is free. You are not going to be billed any extra money in that direction. Because here, when you buy data, for instance, and that data is said to be monthly or weekly, if you buy data for 1 month and you don't exhaust the data, the company takes it off. They say they are rolling it over, but they don't roll it over.
You never see that.
Does it even get to the 1 month? It's another question of it. So does it get to the 1 month?
Well, that one depends on your usage.
1 month data is 2 days.
if you are heavy on videos, that you're watching videos and other things, that the content that takes your data heavily, that's your own consumption.
Okay.
But what I'm saying is that if you bought data for 1 month, a package, a bouquet of 1 month, and you were not able to exhaust it, it is naturally expected that the company will roll it over for you to the next month, but they don't. They don't do it, and that's what I'm expecting the National Assembly, that now that you are saying you are increasing the tariffs to 50%, what are the take homes for Nigerians? What are going to be the benefits? That's where our National Assembly should step in and ask very serious questions.
Very serious questions indeed. So let's move to the next matter. Court adjourns Dangote Refinery's 100 billion naira suit against marketers. You know, Dangote went to court, say, I am the sole producer of oil here, and you shouldn't go ahead and be giving NMDPR shouldn't go ahead, RE shouldn't go ahead and be giving licenses to other marketers to go out there and import. So I was feeling the whole system is becoming monotonous, and Dangote was going to use that, leverage that, you know, to, I don't want to use the word exploit, but Nigerians. But he says, hey, I don't want any other person to be involved in this. Chief Akase, is that right?
Well, you know, this matter of I mean, like a melodrama is becoming the theater of the absurd. Because no one seems to be telling us the truth. It is back and forth. Exactly. Today you hear that the pump price is coming down. Yes. The next 24 hours it is going up, and all of these people are out for their interest. Now, but that is what happens when you fail to do what you should have done earlier. Now, if Nigeria wanted to deregulate the energy sector, this shouldn't have been happening now. During the Obasanjo administration, this should have been done. And now we should be enjoying the benefits of deregulation. Dangote shouldn't be the only captain in this industry, the private captain in the industry now. We should have had many other captains in the industry where the so-called market forces will be controlling the prices. But I don't even believe in that market forces theory that Nigerian government has been talking about, because they say they are not regulating, they say they are deregulating, but they are still fixing prices. So where is the sincerity? So if you're talking about importation, non-importation, this is the same thing. It's just the issue of going forth, coming back, but in the end, the people who are suffering the brunt of this are Nigerians, the ordinary people of this country.
All right, at this point,
the pause is making me ask. Okay. You just had a deep thought about what is going on. Yes, but I know we have to move to the next paper. So this morning, back home to Agate newspaper. All right, let's take a look at some of the top stories coming in from Agate newspaper this morning, and we have the banner headline there. I didn't cause arrest of Suswam in 2015. Otom says. Other headlines in the paper this morning. I disagree with Alia's advisor that no IDP's camp has been attacked under his tenure. Ikem. The headsmen kill men after 5.5 million naira ransom in Benue. Governor Alia splits education ministry. Say no more free exams registration. Abolishes cash collection in schools. PDP nominates Otom as a board of trustees member from Benue. Borno State establishes cattle ranches in 3 senatorial districts. Another headline says, Benue University Hospital makes history, records first IVF delivery. And Benue has highest number of IDPs in North Central. Alia. Okay, we touched on this last week.
Yes, we did.
I didn't cause a rest.
I wouldn't want to
yes.
continue speaking on that.
Right.
The only story, perhaps,
Yes.
that has attracted my attention in this edition
Yes.
of Agate News is the splitting of the Ministry of Education.
Yes, education.
What is the other one now called? Ministry of Education and Ministry of what? I can't get that now. But, well, whatever is the reason for the splitting of the ministry, the government knows better. But I will advise. I have noticed the duplication of rules in the current government, especially as it affects the Ministry of the State Ministry of Education in Benue State.
Yeah.
The Quality Assurance Bureau, which has come on board, beautiful idea. But I have seen some, the man who is in charge now there is my friend, and so this is not about him; it's about the government. I have seen some clash of roles as far as that ministry, the parent ministry, and that bureau. And so I don't know what I don't know if there was an edict, there was an act of parliament establishing that bureau of quality assurance, which I have no idea if there was. And if there was, then certainly there must have been some terms, some functions specified in that act of parliament. I mean, the State Assembly must have made a law establishing the Bureau for Quality Assurance. And if there was none, then I expect that the government of His Excellency Hyacinth Elia should speedily spell out the functions of the Quality Assurance Office or Bureau to stop it from, I don't want to use the word usurping. Stop it from, encroaching into the affairs of the parent ministry. The Ministry of Education, I think the inspectorate unit of education in the state is domiciled in the Ministry of Education. And when you have quality assurance, certainly that is what the unit of the inspectorate unit of education is supposed to be doing. We have units like this at the local government level too. We at the departments of education in each local government there is a unit for inspection, and that unit has to do with ensuring quality. And that's the same unit that goes closing schools in rural areas and so on. That is their job. So if something is wrong with that inspectorate, I was expecting that this agency that was established for quality assurance will be inspected, rather supervised by the Ministry of Education, and not the Quality Assurance Office taking over these functions of the Commissioner for Education. I have seen this happen many times. I have seen my good friend Dr. Tena going to schools to close like that, but as I said, it's not about him. Yes. It's about the office and it's about the ministry. So I expect that His Excellency will quickly sit back with his team and look at how what can be done, because this is about Benue State. Our children are in schools. My children are in schools. Now it's not about even the governor. It's about the future of education in the state. So I expect His Excellency the Governor to sit with his team and take a second look at that ministry and its children, so to speak, the agencies under it. And I don't know if this agency, we know SUBEB and TSB and the others are under the Ministry of Education. Yes. I don't know if that quality assurance is under the Ministry of Education. And if it is not, then it perhaps has to be separated from clearly by law and maybe taken into under the office of the governor, We have seen offices like that established in the past, and they were made part of the governor's office or the president's office. But if you allow that agency to be out there in the open space and moving from place to place, taking over the functions of the Ministry of Education, then you certainly have a clash. And when that clash comes, the person who will suffer the brunt will be the governor of the state.
Okay, so the two ministries are the Ministry of Basic Education and Ministry of Secondary and Tertiary Education.
Well, okay, that's look at governance. Ministries are established for the ease of administration. So when splitting ministries is not a problem. I am only talking about how effective
that would be,
how you streamline the functions of these ministries to avoid clashes, to avoid overlapping of roles, people usurping the roles of others and so on. Because when that happens, you have confusion in government, and when confusion sets in, then the people will be the ones to suffer, and all of us as parents will be the ones to suffer as far as education is concerned.
All right.
Just before you
yes.
proceed, at the meeting where the governor announced the decision, learned that some education stakeholders were there, principals and all of that, and he had particularly pinpointed unwholesome practices in some schools across the state. Well, one could argue that maybe he set, a specific ministry for secondary and tertiary education, and then basic education, to have a straight focus on these issues and then try to nip them in the bud. But again, my concern there is the issue of cost. At the time, Nigerians are complaining of so many hardships and all that, and like you said, multiplication of functions, duplication of functions. So it keeps going on and on and on. A new commissioner is going to be eventually announced, according to the report, and then the commissioner would have entitlement. We need a vehicle to facilitate his movement. We need an office that is well furnished, and the cost, daily running cost of the ministry. So,
I wouldn't want to go into things. Those are lesser things. Those are issues of vehicles, buying vehicles for commissioners and heads of agencies. Those ones are okay. The governor knows how to handle it. It's within the budget of the state to handle those ones. But I am more concerned about establishing ministrations. As far as the state assembly is on the same page with you in terms of all of, because when the commissioners are going to be screened, the new commissioner is going to be screened by the state assembly, and I expect that the state assembly will also look into that. Is it how they may need to ask questions? But if they don't, I don't know. What is the justification for having to split the Ministry of Education? Well, it could be argued that it's actually business to concentrate on tertiary education. That's okay. But I only expect that His Excellency the Governor will look into what I talked about earlier to fine-tune, to give clear-cut terms of reference, functions for agencies. And now that again arises the question, where will be the place of the quality assurance? Is the quality assurance going to go with the basic education ministry or the tertiary education ministry,
or possibly
or are you going to scrap the quality assurance,
wrap across,
or are you going to withdraw the agency into government house under the office of the governor? So these things have to, because if you don't do it, certainly you are going to have an implosion in the roles of these ministries and agencies,
yes.
Because some people have the tendency of dominating. If you put 10 people in a room,
yes.
Don't talk to them, just put them there. Before you know it, a leader will emerge, because there are some people who have charismatic qualities, and once you put them in a group with other people, they will naturally begin to dominate others. So when you allow this to happen, you certainly run into trouble as a government.
Okay, I know you also would want to just touch on the situation of the IDPs. We'll be going on break shortly, so 2 stories there on IDPs, but then 3 if you ask me, because in Borno State steps have been taken to see what we can do with the crisis. Borno State establishes cattle ranches in 3 senatorial districts. And then I disagree with Alia's advisor that no IDPs camp has been attacked under his tenure, Ikem. And then Benue has the highest number of IDPs in the North Central, says Alia.
Well, this has been said many times.
Yes, exactly.
Benue State is one of the concentrations of internally displaced people in this country. It's quite unfortunate that when we were in government, we made a lot of efforts to, and we attracted the United Nations attention to the humanitarian crisis in Benue State. And that's why they began to come here and give assistance. And I expect that this current government will build on those efforts. Because the humanitarian interventions that have been coming into this country have been 90% going to the northeast. That shouldn't be happening. Benue has one of the highest numbers of internally displaced people. Many of them have not been captured because when they are attacked, some have relations in town. They move to town and don't go to be registered in the IDPs. That's the truth. So anyone who is doubting this is either playing politics with the humanitarian crisis that we have in the state, because this shouldn't be even a political matter. It shouldn't even be, and that's why we in the opposition too, we don't play politics with this, because our relations are in those camps and they are suffering there. So anyone who cares about Benue should not play politics with the issue of the IDPs, because some people children have been born in those camps over the years. Those children have not known real peace. They have not known that family bond that grows in homes, because they were born in classrooms, makeshift rooms in the camps. It's something that nobody should wish for, even his enemy. So I expect that our people will be sober whenever this issue is mentioned, and no one should play politics with it, because in the end, it is Benue people are the ones going through that hardship, and we should always be praying and looking for ways to see. That's why when His Excellency was campaigning and he said he was going to make sure that these people return to their ancestral homes, even we who were on the other side of the divide were happy, because that was what Governor Samuel Otom was trying to achieve, so that his people will go back to their ancestral homes. And when Governor Alia came, we gave him, or nobody has ever criticized him over that, because efforts should be made to make sure that these people go back to their homes, and it shouldn't be a matter of politics.
All right, efforts should be made, frantic efforts at that should be made to make sure these people return home. Well, it is at this point that we'll take a break to be back in a moment. Stay with us.
Keep watching Agate Television.
Keep watching Agate Televisions.
Big shout out to Agate Television, Sky's your limit.
Keep watching Agate Television.
Keep watching Agate Television, one of the best in the whole city of Makurdi. Peace.
Hello, my people. Keep watching Agate Television. Watch out for more.
Agate Television. We love you.
Special shout out to Agate Television.
Agate Television, you're the best. Shout out. Peace.
Shout out to Agate Television. I love you. You're the best.
Best channel, all the fun, the live shows, the best of the best you can get.
Agate TV, one of the best rising televisions in North Central Nigeria, which everybody should actually look out for.
You're welcome back. You're still watching Agate Television. The program is a newspaper headlines review. You can also listen to us on Agate Radio 95.5 Star FM in the frequency modulation band. Okay, so you can also join us on our social media handles, YouTube, Agate Radio Television. You can also read our newspaper we just reviewed, www.agateradio.tv.com. We're also live on Facebook at facebook.com/Agate Radio TV. So we now move to the next newspaper, which is the Nigerian Tribune, and it talks. It has one story here: Solid Minerals. National Assembly doubts federal government's commitment to diversify economy. Summons finance budget ministers and budget director general. Ministry of Solid Minerals budget defense deferred. So that's one big story on the Nigerian Tribune. Solid minerals, an important factor of the Nigerian economy, cut across all the nook and crannies of the country, from Benue to Adamawa, and from Enugu down to Lagos. These things are there, down to Ibadan. They are there. All right. So, and analysts have often said they are the ones causing rift, and I seem to agree with that school of thought, because in most areas in the country where we have natural resources, that's where the problem is. For instance, in Kwande local government area of Benue State, there seems to be an unrest, and analysts have finger pointed the deposit of natural resources in the area as one of the issues in the country. But the National Assembly is saying, hey, federal government, you have said a lot about diversifying the economy to take advantage of these mineral resources, to receive them from the hands of private individuals who are causing rifts across the country. And we are not seeing any light at the end of the tunnel, or as it is always said, there's no hope in sight. So I'm just wondering within myself, do we see the federal government doing frantically to improve the situation, tap the natural resources and use them for the development of the country? Or we see politics in this?
Well, it is yet to be seen, and that's what the National Assembly is saying. You know, Nigeria over the years has become like a child whose father amassed a lot of wealth, you know, did a lot and got rich, so rich. And this kid has now come to be enjoying the sweat of his father. So he feels not to explore much more. Our founding fathers did a lot, and oil was discovered in the 60s. And before the oil discovery in Olobiri, in Bayelsa State, Nigeria was diversified. Agriculture was the mainstay of the economy, and a lot of other things that Nigeria was doing. Now, oil was discovered, and that marked the turning point for this country. Because we have a lot. We don't need to even work so much, but we have so much money in our account. So our job is, that's why someone said the problem is not money, but the problem is how to spend.
That's
to
very
spend the money.
For an average
now,
Nigeria.
This is the reality of Nigeria.
Yeah.
We have abundant resources, even in Benue State here.
Yeah.
Nigeria has discovered oil and gold. There is gold here.
Yes.
There is gold in Kwande and areas like Guma and other places. There was an area survey that discovered gold, but you see, mining is not on the concurrent list or residual list. It's on the exclusive list. The federal government is the one that gives mining licenses. So you cannot blame states for not being able to do anything. They can only collaborate. They can only relate with the federal government. So it is the job of the federal government to look into other areas of resources of this country. Like, you have a lot of mineral resources in the northeast, where the bandits are not allowing any development to take place because they have seen something there. And that's why sometimes when people are arrested, you find foreigners amongst them. Because they have seen what our local people may not have seen. So they come and according to reports we have read, I'm not the one saying this. According to reports we have read, some of those expatriates come in and incite the local people to create crisis in their area. So while they are fighting, while they are doing that, they go mining their resources and take it home. Recently, people were arrested in Kwande with trucks of gold. I don't know where the security agencies have gone with that matter. Was someone settled somewhere and those Chinese cleared to go home? These are questions that we should be asking. And that's why the National Assembly is questioning the sincerity of the federal agencies as far as this issue is concerned. How sincere are we? See, Mr. President cannot do everything. As far as the issue of solid minerals is concerned, then we will be missing the point. Because all eyes are on oil. Everything, Nigeria's economy, everything rests on oil. But we have other areas that we should diversify and make more money, and Nigeria will become a prosperous nation. This is what the people are saying.
Chief, I think there again there is a problem. Permit me to crisscross to the Punch newspaper where there's a story that says, the Guardian newspaper, where there's a story that says less than 1,000 mines active as NMCO issues 7,000 mining licenses, to miners. Okay, what I'm trying to bring to the fore is we have agitated for state policing. We have called for local government of autonomy. So don't you think it would be proper for us to deregulate the issue or decentralize the issue of mines control, natural resources control to the hands of the various state governments?
That is where
full control of them.
I agree with you. That is where the issue of political will comes in. And the National Assembly should not only be doubting the sincerity of the executive arm of government. They are the ones who make laws. And if they want to deregulate the law there and say, look, from this time going forward, licensing on solid minerals should be allowed, states should be allowed to manage resources within their state. But that again goes back to the issue of resource control and the structuring. So it has to be a debate. Stakeholders should be involved. Let Nigerians decide what they want, like it is happening in other sectors. Recently, one of the sectors, now the electricity, states are now being given the rights to regulate electricity within their territories, which is a beautiful thing. I believe if we move from this to other sectors, then we will be getting towards that true federalism that has been on the lips of many people. It shouldn't just be paper federalism. It should be federalism in practice. And this is the only way to do it. So when our National Assembly cries, they are crying everywhere, they are crying, the federal government is not doing well. You are the ones who have the bread and the knife. You are the ones who make laws, and you go cry. Just make a law. Make a law as far as you know that this is in the interest of the people of this country. Make a law and stand by it. And the Federal Executive Council will have no option than to implement that law. If they don't implement it, then the judiciary comes in. It is that simple.
Usually these cries go and die a natural death. Nobody hears about it.
When a lot of Ghana must go move around, then people begin to speak in tongues. It's quite unfortunate.
Okay, let's still staying with the Guardian newspaper. That's our next paper this morning. Federal government offers free cesarean sections to improve maternal and neonatal outcomes, and the Guardian captures it this morning that federal government's free cesarean section 104 facilities to enlist as pilot phase records 2,819 beneficiaries. Well, that's a good one. Court condemns media trial says Otudeko, others not properly served by EFCC. Still in the Guardian newspaper this morning, we have healthy economy without impact on average Nigerian, worries senators. And then Nigerians to pay 50% more on calls, data, SMS. That is also captured in the Guardian newspaper. I'm unsure of unemployment statistics in Nigeria, says Labour Minister. Yes, I was expecting you to someone to smile at that. What is happening? Okay, and then reps declare Tinubu's 595 billion naira allocation to intelligence inadequate. Niger tanker explosion death toll rises to 98 as Agric Minister mourns MD. Others in allege 76 billion naira, $31.5 million fraud. And then police fall bandit attacks rescue 207 trafficked children. All right, that's a win for security there. And then let's start with this one. I'm unsure of unemployment statistics in Nigeria, says Labour Minister. At least the average person knows that. The numbers are huge.
Yeah.
Yes.
Before Chief comes in, I want to quickly bring to mind what the MBS had said here. I think we were on this platform where the MBS told us that in a report that I think only 4 in 100 Nigerians were unemployed. And then now the minister, the man in charge, has come to
Maybe he doesn't
be
believe
unsure of this. So do we go arguing, or do we go distrusting the statistics of the MBS, which has been providing statistics for every other thing in the country, or should we go doubting the minister? Which way should we head?
The problem is that even if you attempt to get the correct figures of unemployed people in this country, you will always end up getting figures that are unreal, because people will always want to inflate figures in their states. If, for instance, they notice that the federal government has a package coming for unemployed people, and you ask state, every state has a bureau similar to what happens in Abuja called National Bureau of Statistics. If you go to the state, there is a department of planning, State Department of Planning. That is similar to what happens at Abuja. In Abuja, we're called the Nigerian National Bureau of Statistics. So if you ask every state department of planning to provide the figures of their unemployment or unemployed people in that state, you will never get the correct figures, especially if they sense that there is a package being arranged by the federal government for unemployed people. They will give you fake figures. They will inflate the figures and throw it at you. So I don't blame the Minister of Labor for saying this, but because that again is laughable.
It is.
He shouldn't be saying that. He shouldn't be saying, at least give hope. Give hope that you will relate with state governments and local governments to be able to get something close near the unemployment figure of this country, because
of course trying to be honest.
But sometimes honesty can be foolish honesty, if you permit me to use that word. You don't own up to such a thing. You have been minister for nearly 2 years. You should have an idea. You can, even if it means you hazard a guess, because you should have something, at least something that is close to a figure. And by that I mean, you came in as a minister, you should relate with state departments of planning in each state. Let them give you the figures of, now take for instance, if you look at Benue State, you have BSU churning out thousands of students every year. University of Agriculture, formerly University of Agriculture, now Joseph Sawon Taka University, producing thousands every year. Take a look at other tertiary institutions in this state. They are graduating people, colleges of education. That is public ones. Then private ones, they are producing both at ND level, national diploma, and high national diploma level, and so on. Then you look at the private ones. If you ask this institution to 20,000, this is a reality. 20,000 graduates per year, per session. University of, Sawon Taka University gives you maybe a higher figure or a slightly lower figure, and then you take the polytechnics, then you go to the private ones. You should be able to have an idea. And then you look at people who are in the informal sector, people who have not ever done anything, who don't even have any self-employed jobs. That, again, should be able to give you an idea, because there are departments of state that deal with such people. So when you take this, when the federal, what do you call it, the national, social investment program came.
Okay, Empower,
and what do you call it? The other one that had women giving food, cooking for children, school feeding program.
Yes.
When the national social investment program came, every state that subscribes to it was able to have an idea of how many people were unemployed at that time, because graduates came for that program. Majority of graduates were enrolled. Exactly. So when you look at statistics like that, as a minister, you are the coordinating person for labor in Nigeria. You should be able to have an idea of the statistics of people who are unemployed in your country. You don't go to national television and tell people that you don't have an idea.
I think we should move away from that story. I already know you're itchy to just come in here with the Donald Trump situation before we go. But Reps declared Tinubu's allocation, that's 595 billion naira allocation to intelligence, inadequate. So the House of Representatives Committee on National Security and Intelligence has described the 595 billion naira allocation to the intelligence subsector as grossly inadequate. Let's touch on that.
Okay, Fana, go ahead.
Yeah, it's inadequate because up to now,
yes,
some of these intelligence units have not been paid the allocations for 2023. 2 years it was. That's according to the report. 2 years it was being, defended before the National Assembly and then approved.
Yes.
They have not been paid. So one wonders how, and because these capital allocations deal with buying, kits, buying vehicles, operational vehicles, doing that. And at the end of the day, you see operational vehicles are being bought and given as a ceremony. And then we are clapping for these people. Okay, so how do you expect them to function effectively when what is meant for them to, include their operational runnings, is not being paid for them? So I think it's a thing to fought, actually.
Father, sometimes I wonder what makes news in this country. This shouldn't be news.
Okay.
This shouldn't be something that Nigerians will be bothered with.
So why do you think so?
The intelligence sector. We are referring to security agencies and their activities, if they are, tipping informants, right? If, for instance, you are in charge of the police in Benue State and you have informants in every local government or in every ward, all right, supplying you information. You are using money to tip them, to maybe buy data, buy recharge card for them. That is something that you do behind closed doors. It's not our own problem. That shouldn't be what should be brought to the fore for Nigerians to think about. That is something that the federal government and the states should be dealing with indoors. You don't need to bother us with issues of the intelligence gathering machinery has not been paid. Look, Nigerians have more problems that are biting them than issues like this. Because we want to hear. Now, last week, there was a concession between the federal government and the governors on tax reforms.
Tax reforms.
Beautiful, beautiful thing. We're happy to hear that news. That's what we want to hear. Not how the police or DSS or these other people are not being paid to take care of that. That shouldn't make the headlines.
Okay. Well, perhaps
they're going to announce who they pay to give them information in the next quarter.
Hopefully not.
Hopefully not. Okay.
Anxiety, yes. As Trump returns to power, recognizes only two genders.
Only two genders, among other.
Someone said that was the basis for his campaign. So
heart-wrenching executive orders.
Yes.
First of all, let me congratulate Donald Trump. I'm one of his fans. I'm one of his supporters, even though I don't vote in the United States. But Trump has always been, I have always admired him.
No, it's a good
He's a man who speaks his voice and who speaks his mind. And when he says, I'm going to do it, he does it. So yesterday, one of the things he announced is that he will recognize only two genders, male and female. That was, for me, is one of the high points of the world's issues today. Because some people are beginning to cause, to confuse other people. And Trump, being one of the most powerful people in the world, if not, as far as human beings are concerned, the United States is seen as the policeman of the world. Now, if Trump says this, then it is granted that it will be done. So, and then already changes are taking place. He announced that United States will go 50-50 with TikTok. And have that because Biden banned, efforts will be made to already they banned it. Trump is saying you will come back, but you give us 50%. That's business for America. Okay, and then he is a lot of other pronouncements. He's talking about immigration, that those who have moved into the United States illegally will be deported. For me, that is also good because people should learn to be lawful, to be law abiding. You don't go into someone's. That's what we have in Nigeria. People coming here illegally and they are allowed to stay here. Our immigration services have to do better. So if Trump is saying he will deport all those people to go back to their countries, I am in support of Trump.
Chief, we are totally out of time, but we can't just go without making mention of sports. Of course, Osimhen tops Arsenal general wish list. Boniface returns to Leverkusen training. Fighter sends Boss Hills on Noacha. And then we have the bold one here, Golden Girls, Nigeria under-19 women's team spreading the cricket gospel in Nigeria.
Congratulations.
So quickly react to any of them and then we'll wrap.
Well, it's a good one. Just to Nigerians are always doing well. Yesterday we watched Chelsea. Even though that guy, I don't think he's of Nigeria, but he bears Nigeria's name. Madueke scored a goal for Chelsea against Wolves. So Nigerians are doing well in the world of sports. It's just for our government to support our sports people to continue to bring glory to this country. Let it not be lip service support. When funds are made available for our sports associations, give them the money. If you want, monitor them. And if you promise that if our national teams win, whether it is football, whether it is volleyball, whether it is handball, if you promise them when they are going for a competition that if they win or if they go to this level, give them their match bonuses, pay them their allowances, don't withhold that allowance. These are not your allowances. So I expect that our people should be sincere in all facets of this nation.
Well, that's our program for today. Newspaper headlines review on Agate Television. We'll be back here next week, Tuesday, to bring perspective to national, international issues and sports. I worked with Shido Taga. Shido, thank you very much for your work.
Thank you so much. I'm sure our analysts need more time.
Thank you so very much for your analysis.
It's always
and
my pleasure.
We do hope that you'll be here with us next week, Tuesday.
By the grace of God.
Well, join the conversation. It's still ongoing on our social media handles. Don't forget Agate Radio and Television on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, formerly X, and now X. I'm Fanin Kwana.